I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs understand this concept called marketing funnel. What does the marketing funnel know? That every product, every business goes through several stages of a marketing funnel. The first stage is obviously the awareness stage, where you're literally making people aware about who you are, what you do.
This is episode number 3 of MSME Talk with Madhulika Joshii Paalod on marketing process for MSME. Welcome back to MSME Talk podcast. MSME Talk podcast is for micro, small, medium enterprises, startups and entrepreneurs, in which we discuss with industry experts and experienced entrepreneurs on specific value addition guidance and solve queries to help build long-lasting businesses. Madhulika Joshii Paalod is marketing and brand specialist for more than 20 years. She has used her expertise in marketing strategies for multiple brands and companies in different sectors, covering brand marketing, corporate communication, and campaigns. She has been director marketing for Accor Hotels prior to getting into entrepreneurship journey with Drum Up Media. She is the founder and CEO of Martist, the group agency managing sub-agencies under its portfolio. In this episode, we will discuss about process to create marketing plan apart from other points like what all comes under marketing, when to start your marketing process, why marketing is important, common mistakes in digital marketing, why it is important to onboard professionals for marketing activities, is digital marketing enough, and a lot more with Madhulika Joshii Paalod. So do stick till the end. And now let me welcome Madhulika Joshii Paalod for this episode on marketing process. A very warm welcome, Madhulika, to MSME Talk to guide us on marketing process.
First of all, thank you so much, Tripti, for having me on this show. And I must say, it's an amazing concept. MSME sector is a growing and a booming sector right now. And I think this is the apt time to launch a podcast show for that. So, congrats to you for that, first of all. And thanks for having me over. I'll definitely do my best to share the most relevant insights for this segment and help them as much as possible.
Madhulika, let's begin with knowing more about your background and journey.
Sure, Tripti. So yes, I've been in the marketing background for the last 2 decades, as you said. I started my journey in the year 99. I wanted to get into, after finishing my professional education, I wanted to get into hardcore advertising. I wanted to actually be a copywriter. I loved watching ads. I loved reading about ads. I loved analyzing the ads post they were published in newspapers at that time. So I used to enjoy that experience. Gradually, I started getting more and more involved. And I don't know how this happened. I just happened to get into a brand marketing role at that very early stage. And I just took it up. And I think after that, there was no looking back. I was attached to the hospitality sector, the tourism sector. And what I realized that being a part of the brand marketing journey is that there is so much focus you can have on one brand, and you can give in your best in terms of your skill sets to one particular area of the industry that you work for. And thereafter there were several companies that I was associated with. Wonderful experiences, meeting different set of mindset, different people, understanding the consumer, from at the ground level. All this was an amazing experience for me personally to grow me in my career and my profession, and also to finally contribute back to the same. And post having spent so many years in different sectors and companies, when I decided that I need to put my own vision to things, I need to start my own organization, my own company, have my own team to lead, is where I got into the journey of an entrepreneur. And yes, I was part. I started with Drum Up Media as a company that I associated myself as a partner. Running the operations and managing the brand marketing part for different set of brands. And then very recently, I founded Martist, which is a mindful marketing organization. Completely believes in giving you the right solution to companies and clients in the area of marketing, digital marketing, social media marketing, etc. We also have a vertical on MSME for that matter. Since we are doing this episode on MSME as a focus, I would like to share that there is a complete vertical dedicated to support in the area of marketing to this sector, the companies that are wanting to grow, which belong to the MSME sector. So that's pretty much what my professional journey, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the journey of entrepreneurship. There are challenges, but I think those are a part of our life anyways.
Thanks, Madhulika, for sharing your journey and services offered to MSME. I'm thrilled to get a lot of information and knowledge from you on this episode as we move ahead.
Thanks, Tripti. Looking forward to.
So let's begin our conversation on marketing process. First of all, my very basic question is marketing, branding, etc. are same thing or they are different?
Yeah, actually, so you know what, marketing, I say this often to a lot of people that, marketing is such that, everybody wants to be a part of it. Like everybody wants to comment on how nice a creative looks or how nice a campaign has come out with, what could have been done, to make it look better, etc. So marketing is like, everyone's baby. You just want to be somewhere or the other associated with marketing overall, right? Having said that, while I agree, a lot of us may not be clear on these definitions, because it's all being jumbled up today, like people are using sales for marketing, they're using communication for branding. So it's somewhat kind of a jumbled up scenario, because there are too many terms also that has come over a period of time. So I kind of take that point that there might be confusion across in our audience, to understand really, but there is a clear definition for all these three terms that you mentioned, and they are all very very different from each other. Marketing is basically the entire, it's like a complete system, it's a complete process that you have set for your organization. And obviously within that you will have some assets in terms of the sales, which is a direct interaction with your clients, about selling your product or service. Branding is about advertising, about making your brand look good in terms of packaging, etc., the colors, the logo, the symbols. So definitely the answer is yes, all these three are very very different from each other, yet they're all a part of one another in a way.
Marketing needs extra budget. In MSME, we have micro, medium enterprises, and not necessarily all have budget for marketing.
Right.
Can they avoid marketing at initial level and plan it to implement it at a later stage?
Right. So, first of all, Tripti, I would like to clarify this to the listeners that marketing is a very holistic approach that one needs to understand. If I talk about simply just the promotion part of marketing, it's more to do with your advertising, your promotions, your spend patterns to reach out to your end audience. But what MSMEs also need to understand is that marketing starts with your product. Marketing's promotion, in fact, is the last thing in the list that comes, right? Here we are talking, if I'm going by the theory, right? I'm just going back to the theory. We are talking about the 4 P's of marketing. The 4 P's of marketing are product, place, price, and promotion. And these are the fundamentals, which are the principles of marketing, which are not going to change no matter which era of marketing or brand or organization we are living in today, right? So if we start with the product, it's about how you evolve the product. What is your product made up of? What need or a problem or a area of solution it's going to work towards? So that's where the first P is about. The place is about focused about distribution. Where are you going to distribute your product? Or let's say if it's a service, if you have a restaurant of your own, where are you going to place your restaurant? Which city are you opening your restaurant, for example? Then comes the price. What's your pricing strategy? How are you going to price, keeping your customer in mind? What's your pricing going to look like? Is it going to be a budget pricing? Is it going to be a mid segment? Is it going to be a high end value? So that's where the pricing comes into. And then lastly, you have the promotions part of it. That's where you talk about how much should we spend in digital, how much should we spend in a hoarding or an ad, etc. So what MSMEs need to understand, whether they are a medium size or they are a micro company, is it's important to look at marketing holistically first. Let's understand that marketing is not just about promotions. Marketing is not just about putting up an ad in a paper. It's about how to make sure that you're delivering value to your customers. I think if that philosophy is clear, a lot of areas connected with marketing will be very clear, and it'll, I think every entrepreneur and every MSME based company will look at it in a very positive limelight and a very welcoming limelight. And I think that's the mindset that people need to come from, because when we think about marketing, we think, oh shit, it's going to be about, now I'll have to think about spend. I don't have the tools, I don't have the resources. But no, are you first of all connecting your product like a brand, adequately to your end audience? Is that first, have you taken that step first? And then we need to move on to the other part. So the answer is yes, marketing is very, very, very relevant to the MSME sector, rather more, because that's where they're establishing, that's where they're trying to, test waters, that's where they're trying to enter the market, that's where they're trying to see the entry barriers. So marketing is the one stop solution to all these answers, all these queries and challenges.
Okay, so you mean marketing has to be planned from day one and cannot be left to the stage when cash flow starts coming
Hmm, correct. So marketing starts with defining your objectives about why are you there in existence as a company, right? Why are you planning to launch, right? Whether it's a product or a service or anything, right? So I think marketing actually starts from there, and then it goes on to different, stages of its formation, and that's where the last part, as I said, comes only when we think about the spend part, as we're talking about, is when you want to then reach out to your end audience. That's where the final part of the promotions comes into the limelight. But yes, it starts from the grassroots level.
in. Madhulika, now since you have already convinced us with the need of having a marketing plan, why don't you guide us broadly how to create a strategic marketing process for our listeners?
Let's take a quick break.
MSMEs and startups are looking for various kinds of support and upgrade. Are you a product service provider, expert, advisor, consultant, mentor for MSMEs and startups? Do reach out to MSME Talk to list your business. Check the link in the description.
Right. So I think before getting into the process and the framework approach for marketing for MSME, I would like to also highlight, a lot of challenges that the MSMEs go through, or rather when they have these apprehensions in their mind. I would just like to throw some few limelight when I have personally spoken to a lot of people from the MSME sector too, right? So couple of things actually comes is that while they have a vision, while they have sound knowledge in the industry that they're planning to enter, they definitely lack the expertise to move forward, in different stages of their brand product category that they want to launch, or whatever, business that they want to launch. So there are always this lack of resources that they go through, because they don't know who to connect with, who to talk to, who will be the right person who will give them that right advice for setting it right. A lot of things they do are based on their intuitions. So while personally I do not deny the fact that your intuitions can take you a long way in a lot of your business decision, but you cannot solely have all your decisions taken, basis on what you feel is right, what you feel should be done, because a lot of drastic mistakes can happen due to that. So I think MSME go through these confusing stages where they really don't know what's the right path to take. And that's where I think setting up a framework for marketing, whether they do it themselves or they have someone in their team to carry this, marketing or a business vision forward, is becomes extremely relevant. And that's where I would like to start, that you need to put up a complete framework approach to your agenda for, your business, which starts with as simple as understanding, as I said, the reason why you're there for existence. Why are you wanting to, what's the problem area that you're planning to solve for your end consumer? And I'm sure any entrepreneur who's entering into the market will definitely, do that step and take that process forward. Defining the consumer is extremely important. See, we know our overall consumer. Let's say if I'm launching a milk product, right? I'm launching a flavored milk product. So I'm definitely aware, okay, my TG is going to be, a young, like a young kid, who likes to have flavored milk, because kids usually don't like simple milk, and that's where the problem of a mother is, that she tries to, run around their kids and say, please have milk, please have milk, but the kids don't enjoy the taste. So the flavored milk comes to the market, and an entrepreneur launches is that this is the right way to, serve your kid the milk, but in a healthier way and a tastier way too, right? And that's where you know that your TG is definitely the kid, but you need to influence the mother too, because your kids are really not looking at your ads, your kids are not looking at your communication. So your mother is your primary audience to influence that, give this to your kid so that he or she could be healthier, and but just with a hint of taste. I'm just giving you like a hypothetical example here. So the audience definition has to be clearly defined, which means you have to define the demographics and the psychographics. Demographics obviously means that you are focusing on the age profile, as we said, like we are talking about the age of, of a mother, like an young mom, for example. Then you're defining the city of origin. Which cities are you planning to reach out to? Is it a tier 2 city? Is it a tier 3 city? Or you're planning to splash it across the metros, of a certain country or whatever. And then you have to define the income level. Are you talking about a very mass approach here? Are you trying to reach at a very budget pricing, or you want to make it a very premium product, so your pricing would obviously vary? So who are you trying to reach out to? So the income profile, the age profile, the city profile, your gender, everything comes as a part of your demographics. You need to also define the psychographics. Then psychographics comes into the picture, where you're actually defining how the person behaves, how the person thinks, what are the aspirations of your consumer. It's extremely important to deep dive at this stage, because at early on, if we do not invest in the proper research, if we do not invest in the proper way of understanding our consumers, then we cannot move forward with a clear approach to reach out to them in the long term. So I think the first step starts with, once you have set up your complete business model and what promise you're delivering to your consumers, you've got to have your consumer understanding and a persona understanding very, very clearly laid down. And once that is set up, is where you define the clear objective, and that's your second and a very, very crucial step. Defining an objective of what you want to achieve in year 1, what you want to achieve in year 2 and year 3 and thereon, is extremely important, because you then move forward with a certain set of goal based and a very a very uh, quantitative base accordingly, because you know how you have to quantify what you need to do, what at what stage of your business cycle. So I think setting up the marketing objectives is very clear. You need to know at I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs understand this concept called marketing funnel. What does the marketing funnel know? That every product, every business goes through several stages of a marketing funnel. The first stage is obviously the awareness stage, where you're literally making people aware about who you are, what you do. The second stage is about the interest stage, is when you're you know uh, trying to get more and more people interested towards your product, your business, your brand. The third stage is the consideration stage, is when you're actually letting people start considering you versus your competition. So people are beginning to relate with you, what you do, what value you are planning to provide them. And then comes the evaluation stage, where you are actually evaluating, person is actually evaluating, and you're trying to target the customer who is now in the finalization stages of making a decision, a purchase decision. And then lastly comes the purchase stage, where you finally get purchased by your consumer, or the consumer finally makes the purchase decision. And one more stage where I would like to add in here, in today's digital world, is the post purchase stage. What happens in the post purchase stage is where you actually now start understanding consumers, what they think about you, how are they receiving your product and service, what are they talking about you in the market, what's the reviews, what are the feedback. So that's where the post purchase strategy comes into the place. So for any MSME, if they are in the process of launching a business, or anything that they're offering to its end audience, they are at an awareness level, because they have just come out in the market, they are very new. So they need to start with the awareness part, where they need to do everything to make people aware what they do and who they are, extremely carefully. Because at this stage, if you do not get that right, if you do not get that messaging right, people can just misunderstand you for who you are. And trust me, Tripti, this has happened with a lot of companies. This has happened not just with MSMEs, it has happened with larger organization too at times, where the whole offering of the product, the whole positioning of the product has been completely misunderstood because of the lack of proper messaging, or maybe the campaign was to be in a certain direction, but got misunderstood by people in a certain direction, right? So I think awareness is a very crucial part of any business that are in that first stage of that funnel. And each level will have its own aspect to talk about, right? So your marketing strategy and your tactics will vary from each stages of your funnel. At awareness, you're going all out with your promotions, you're going all out to talk to your customers in different forms, you're heavy on digital, you want to make your presence felt on all social media platforms, etc., etc. In the interest, your messaging would change from simply saying that I exist, I'm here for you, to something what I can do for you, right? So you're trying to get more interest. So your channel of communication would focus more on the content marketing part. You would have a larger, you would want to have more ways of communicating to what you do in the form of content marketing, blogs, influencer marketing, for example. Obviously, then we speak about consideration stage. There your tactical ways of connecting with your customer might vary and might have more add-ons to look at it. What should I do? Let's say if I'm on Google today, if my consumer is sitting on Google and it's typing the words of the healthiest food for my child, right? And that's where I see the website of that company popping up with the right adequate content plugged in, and that's where I would start considering you. That's why I would start looking at you as one of the options to select from. Correct? And then obviously comes the evaluation. So evaluation is when finally the final choices are being made. So you've got to have a retargeting approach. I'll come to the retargeting part a little later too. And lastly, obviously the purchase stage, where you have to have a dedicated source of getting people to your website or getting people to your app or getting people to your physical store. There has to be a medium where people can reach out to you easily to make that final purchase. And the post purchase is obviously where people can write about your reviews, where people can connect with you for further feedbacks, which plays a major role in strengthening your brand and strengthening your business in the long term. So this is definitely some of the very key stages. What's again most important part when you set up your clear marketing funnel based action plan is to have a quarter wise plan approach. Now, why do I say quarter wise? Is see, there was a time when we all had this yearly plans. We still do. We still will have in the future. But we have seen during the pandemic, Tripti, how things have drastically changed, right? How things have become so dynamic in its approach. So I think sitting with a yearly plan and thinking that, we all have done our jobs now, we don't need to worry because we have a plan in place. We just have to blindly follow the plan. But I think that approach cannot be any longer valid. The reason being, things are changing very, very easily. Things are changing very quickly. People's mindsets are evolving very fast. The new trends are entering into the marketing thanks to the digital world again. So keeping all this in mind, I think the ideal approach for MSMEs would be to have a quarter wise plan approach where they have a long term vision in place, yes, but at the same time they need to move with a quarter wise approach where, okay, this quarter my focus is going to be on this aspect of my business or marketing. In the second quarter I would move to leading to more action in, I would need more investments to, because it's a season time coming. Let's say that quarter happens to be a season wise quarter of, let's say there's a festival time in India, so it's Diwali, so I need to have more focused approach on certain specific action plans taken, and thereafter. So I think a quarter wise approach is very, very crucial, and to keep going back to the drawing board to see that whether does it require any dynamism, do I need to tweak in something. I think that agility is very important, that adaptability approach is very, very crucial. Then it's I think another point to understand for every entrepreneur here is to be accessible online, right? I think the framework demands, your marketing action plan demands that you've got to be, you cannot avoid not being on digital, right? You've got to be there for the right reasons and in the right way, and be accessible. You've got to have, your customer should be able to reach out to you easily, right? It should not be that the person is trying to find you but cannot, right? So that accessibility is very important, and thanks to social media platforms, I think there are enough good ways of doing, whether it's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's Twitter, or it's Google My Business or whatever, right? So we have several channels available to us, several mediums available to us to be accessible. And investing in content marketing, that's again a very, very important point for the companies belonging to this sector. Is it's very important to invest in the right content marketing, whether you are a B2B business or you are a B2C business, right? It's extremely important because content is the king and will continue to be the king. So we have to admit and acknowledge the fact that content is going to play a very important role in the area of marketing overall, right? Broadly speaking, or if I streamline this to this sector that we are talking about, it's going to be very, very crucial. So how nicely you portray about your company, your value that you offer to your customers, your offerings, etc., is will play a major role in both digital world as well as offline world. Lastly, I would like to focus that as a part of your strategy, as a part of your action plan, we need to believe in word of mouth. I think for a MSME based company, it's extremely crucial to set the right perception about your company, the right perception about your brand. So word of mouth becomes very, very crucial because see, when you are already an established brand, you don't need to work so hard, right? Because people know you, people know what you have been known for so many years. So it makes your life easy. But when it comes to a company which is just establishing or is in the process of growing stronger, that's where you cannot take risk, and you have to be extremely very, very mindful about the kind of what people are talking about, and how you can capitalize on that part and move forward in a strong approach to create that loyalty towards your company in the long term, or create loyalty towards your business or brands in the long term. So I think this is what I have in a nutshell, Tripti, to just focus on the key aspects of setting up a clear consumer persona for your company, for your organization, for your business, or the brand that you're trying to reach out to with your to your customer. Setting very, very clear cut objectives that can be defined. What's your vision? What you want to reach out? How you want to reach out to your customers? Then giving due importance to each of your stages of the marketing funnel, at what we spoke about, the different stages, how you want to reach out to your customer in all those stages, and having a very dynamic approach to your plans. So not just depending on a yearly thing, but looking at reviewing your plans every quarter, or creating dynamic plans every quarter is how it's going to help you even further. And then leading to your own digital ways of reaching out to your customer, accessibility, investing in content marketing, and obviously the word of.
Let's take a quick break.
Hey, MSME Talk listeners, hope you have not missed subscribing to our newsletter for the latest news, blogs, podcast updates. Check the link in the description. We don't spam your inbox, and hence we do have one of the highest rate of newsletter opening in the industry. Very well defined steps you have told us, Madhulika, which we need to focus while making marketing plan, right from defining target consumers to objective of the plan, market funnel stages, and also ensuring dynamic plan execution, preferably on quarterly basis rather than on yearly basis.
Correct.
As you mentioned about digital marketing, let's move on to it. Nowadays, we only hear about digital marketing everywhere.
Right.
Has it taken over other means of marketing completely?
Yes, Tripti, you're not the only one. All of us are only hearing and consuming content and everything else on digital. Uh, well, I can't say that it's only digital, but yes, over the last 2 years, due to the pandemic again, the digital consumption has grown by leaps and bounds, and there are reasons, because when people were homebound and they had nowhere to go, the only medium of connection and only medium of reaching out to whoever for professional or personal or business reasons was digital, right? So we were completely dependent on digital in this last 1.5 years. We were consuming content, we were watching entertaining content on digital, uh, and we were connecting with our families who were not with us at that stage through digital. So I think digital has played a big role, in the way it has helped us reach out to wherever we would like to make purchases through e-commerce, apps or websites, sitting at home. We don't have to travel, we couldn't travel obviously. So while digital was growing already even before the pandemic, it has now moved out to the next level in the span of these 2 years rather. So yes, digital is here to stay, and it's going to grow from here as such, but that doesn't mean that it's only digital. I can say this confidently, especially for India as a market, because India, while we know, is growing digitally very strong, but at the same time we are yet not there, right? We have a gap that we need to fill in terms of the connectivity, in terms of the reach, and yes, technology is growing faster even in that zone, but yet we need to understand that there are areas that we need to still identify and still focus on when it comes to the non digital part of our, let's say if we are specifically asking this, or rather discussing this part as a part of marketing, then we need to also understand that there is a non digital world, there is a non digital aspect to marketing, There's a non-digital world of doing business which we need to equally acknowledge. But yes, the weightage is definitely going to be digital today, and everyone is moving to digital. Every business is moving to digital. If you are not there, you're somewhere left out, is definitely the mindset that people have. And I think it's rightly so, because it's the easiest and the fastest way to reach out to customers, and for customers is the easiest and the fastest way to reach out to you for their needs specifically.
So, along with digital, which other media MSME can think of as medium of marketing?
Right. So I think before that, Tripti, I would like to highlight that every MSME based company, person, I mean, organization needs to understand that when you select the medium, let's say if you're saying non digital or a digital, it's important to again go back to who your consumers are and where they are. Right. So when we spoke about the demographic part initially, when we spoke about the psychographic part, how that helps us is that defines our strategy to choose the marketing communication mix, as they call. We spoke about the four P's of marketing. Similarly, then there are these promotion mix that we have. Under promotion mix, you have different areas. You have print advertisements. You have sales as one of the marketing mix medium. You have hoardings outdoor, you have media app based activity we call public relations, you have digital marketing as one of the areas. So there are these different elements of marketing mix that one can utilize basis on the target audience and basis on the area of where the person belongs to. So now if I specifically give you an example, you want to reach out to someone in a tier 3, like it's a product which caters to, let's say, you want to reach out to farmer community, or if you want to reach out to rural community, let's say, your product is catering to that kind of community and audience, then you cannot be completely digital first. You cannot have a completely digital first strategy, because that audience may or may not be having that accessibility and the technology or the literacy to read that you want him or her to read everything. At that stage, I think, even there are a lot of traditional ways of marketing that, you have, you go to those rural areas and you have those those big pamphlets, as they call, the flyers as they call, which are very visual in nature. Through the visuals you try to sell your product. So if you remember, Tripti, there was a time when, we used to hear about, in such places there used to be these announcements for, when a new product was being introduced. So there were these announcement that, people used to listen to sitting at their home. So I think those things, obviously today if we think about it, we may laugh at it, because it doesn't really exist. At least we are not aware that it might even exist in remote areas of our country. But the fact is that we live in big cities, we live in metros, so for us these things are just like, they are the things of the past. But yet, what I'm trying to emphasize here is that it's very, very important to go to the grassroots level understanding about your consumer. And that's where I've been continuously focused on. A couple of times I've repeatedly said this, that understanding your consumer and what your consumer consumes, what you consume, how your consumer behaves, what is the location where your consumer resides, can actually answer a lot of question whether you need to have a digital first approach or a only digital approach, or have a mix bag of, balance of blend of, non traditional media too. So traditional media would mean either a hoarding, but I wouldn't bring that into the limelight of the discussion right now, because if we are talking about MSME, we are not talking about huge spends to start with. There are many other areas, right? So even a simple thing like a flyer, as I spoke about, or a very colorful and a nicely done messaging on a, something that lands up at your doorstep with the newspaper early morning, can still make a difference, right? So it's again about the effectiveness of the messaging, and how effectively you're reaching out at what stage of the consumer's mindset. Sometimes, and rather a lot of times, it's a multi approach, right? You're not depending on one medium, you're trying different approaches, because your consumer is there in at all those stages of the journey. So you call it a customer touch point, right? So, and it could be a print ad, it could be an ad in a regional newspaper, depending again on the audience. It could be an ad in a, again depends. Non traditional approach is everything which is not digital. So that's where you have to understand where it fits, what fits in, depending on how much you're finally likely to invest as far as the marketing budget goes.
Since digital marketing holds a big pie in marketing medium, could you please share some pros and cons and common mistakes which could happen?
Sure. Yes. So the first belief is that digital is very, very important, right? It's here to stay, as we discussed. But then I'm going to. It may sound more of an oxymoron, but it's like I say that digital is very important. You need to make it a part of your strategy. At the same time, are you mindful about why are you being on digital? Because this is again where MSMEs need to understand very clearly that because everybody's on digital. So I've heard a lot of business owners saying this to me, अरे मेरे कंपटीशन में डिजिटल यूज होता है तो मुझे भी करना है, अरे मेरे मेरे एक नेबर ने किसी ने डिजिटल यूज किया तो मुझे भी करना है. सो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज दैट it's just that because everybody else is on digital, I want to be on digital too. Because everybody else has a profile on Instagram, does that mean I should be also on Instagram? Well, that's the fear of missing out. I think the fear of missing out is also relevant in a business owner's mindset. Everyone feels that if we are not there, then we are losing out. But actually, a lot of times we don't understand that we can mess up things by simply being there and not having a strategy and the reason and the rationale behind why are we there in the first place, right? So if we I'm not disputing the fact that it's not important to have a digital presence, it is. But then again, we have to be very, very careful if we are going all out on digital. What are the platforms we should choose, right? So because see, when we say digital, it's a vast network, it's a huge ecosystem, right? There are so many different tools, there are so many different channels, there's so many different websites, there's so many different apps. Can you be everywhere? Answer is absolutely no, not. So where should I be available, where should I be visible, the selection criteria, the way of looking at the different mediums. Why should I choose Google versus choosing a Facebook, for example, right? So these are the answers you will only achieve when you have understood, again coming back, we have understood your consumers, you've understood the markets, you've understood how with the help of your content, where can I plug that content so that it can get its own justice and space, right? So I think the important part is to have clarity in getting into digital the right way, and that's the message I would like to give to all entrepreneurs and MSME based companies. Because it's simply not being, because let's say if I say launch it on social media, so does it mean you launch it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google, etc., etc.? I mean, no. You've got to identify what is most relevant to you, and then what are you doing to make your presence felt? Because Tripti, we are in an age of clutter, and we will continue to be in an age of massive clutter. You open up today any social media page and you will notice the amount of information that you're being flooded with. It's very important to get, it's very easy to get distracted, it's very easy to just simply just pass by that information and not take any relevant action after that. So the challenge for any business owner today, the challenge for any MSc based company today is that how do I make myself visible to my end audience? And that purely will depend on the category of your business, where what you belong to. Let's say if you're a lifestyle based, you launch an accessory brand, right? So obviously the first step you should look at, launch yourself effectively on Instagram, right? Because Instagram is a highly visual based channel, and it will be a visual based channel, and your product will do justice and it will look good to your customer if you place it properly on an Instagram. What else do you have to do to be looking good on Instagram? A nice set of photography, a nice piece of content thrown in, and the call to action. So the message I'm trying to give here is that it's not just important to identify that digitalism is there for you. It's important, what am I doing with that medium? Am I using it for my advantage, or am I simply there because I feel that just making a presence will give me the results? It will not. We have to have a clear agenda, the clear way of making our presence felt with the right way of our visual strategy, our content strategy put together.
Okay, so we have to be mindful of using relevant channel of digital marketing as per the target segment, product, etc.
Correct. And Tripti, so this answer also will not come easily because, as I said, An entrepreneur or an MSME business owner, at a leadership position may be caught up with too many other aspects of running a business, right? You have to look at the legalities, you have to look at investing into making the product or launching your service, etc., right? Launching not from a promotions part, but literally making it happen, right? Reaching out through the distribution. There are many other aspects of a business that you have to look into. At that stage, I think this part of marketing takes a back seat, because you feel, I don't have the bandwidth to do it, I don't have that energy to look into this part, I'll tackle it later, let me first finish all this. So that's a very practical area to understand. It's a very practical problem, because how do I then understand what is relevant for me? And that's where I think a professional help to do with this, or someone that a person can look in his or her team to look up to for professional advice, because without that it becomes a very difficult thing to carry forward, and you need that to take things forward accordingly for your business and organization.
Yes, absolutely. It makes sense to use professional services as per your budget to ensure consistency in the non core yet essential activities like marketing. This will free up the time of the promoters, founders, and the management team for main core activities.
Right. And the formula for any business to grow is that it cannot be a one person ownership thing, because we've got to have, that's why we need to have experts in the team to take things forward, because that's how one can focus on bigger things in the long term. And that's the approach I think every MSME needs to understand, is that uh, these are the most crucial and the most important investments for your lifetime, for your business, right? Because if we don't make it now, and if we try to cut corners, I think it's just that we are doing things half heartedly. So it's important to make right investment at the right time, which will get us the right result.
Absolutely. So, Madhulika, now moving towards the last section of the episode, I would like to hear from you topmost guiding principles for MSME.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, I would like to start with the fact that every entrepreneur or a MSME based business owner or a company needs to acknowledge and believe that marketing works, right? So believe in marketing in the first place, because when the belief doesn't exist, then whatever we do is like, as we said, that we are just doing it for the sake of just trying to, okay, chalo, let's try it out, let's do it. No, it has to start from the belief that marketing is extremely important to set your product right, to set the perception right for your company in the long term. And that is a mix of several aspects. It's a mix of the right logo. It may start as simple as having the right color for your brand, the right packaging in case if you're a product, the right branding, the right messaging, what kind of messaging you want people to associate your product category. So all these, in the long term, if you want to be a sustainable and a growth based business, you have to look at these aspects, and you have to believe that this is going to work for you. Because there are two mindset that exist: one that say that yes, they believe, and others they say that no, without this also we can manage it. So if this belief existed, say around a decade back, like 10 years back, we were talking, maybe I can say that yes, to some extent it would have worked. But today we know the amount of competition that has come up in every category and every industry. The way there is a clutter, as we spoke, in the area of digital, when people are wanting to promote themselves and push themselves, you will be left far behind if you do not invest in the right ways of marketing your business, right? So that belief is extremely important, and it's the first step that you need to move forward with if you want to make yourself go to the next level as an organization. The second area of understanding I would like to share is, you need to spend, but spend wisely, right? So spending, let's not shy away from spending, because you are in the area of business, you've got, and you're functional is why you're spending. If you were not functional, you wouldn't, right? So the fact is that you have to invest in the right place, and you have to understand that if I do not invest, I will not get the returns of investment that I'm looking for to grow. So let's not have the mindset and the block that no, it's not important right now. It is. You've got to, if you want to create awareness, you have to spend to be there in whatever medium you choose, irrespective. You're not getting into that part. But I think spending is important. At the same time, spending mindfully, not that you just want to go all out and just in one medium you spend lakhs and lakhs and not aware of why you should have done, just because you like to see an ad of your business coming in a newspaper, you did an ad. So that's again coming from that personal way of looking at your business, a personal attachment to your business. Because I like to see my business because others will see and say, hey, this is the business this person started. So there we go through such kind of ways of looking at things. So I think we have to detach ourselves from that and look at it from a very aerial view perspective to get the right vision for why to and how to lead things. And the last part is, and a very very crucial part is, believe in the theory of delivering what you promise. I think the disconnect happens, and the I would say, I'm using the word damage literally here, happens when whatever we have promised is not delivered at the end level. So for every entrepreneur, it's extremely important to keep the promise intact at the grassroots level, and that's what the success of any brand. Today one of my most favorite brand which comes, it may sound like a very big brand today, but I think we talk about a few years back, I think it was a very, like, just a known brand for us, like it existed but it was not a very important part of our life. But today when we think about Amazon, I think we cannot imagine our life without not ordering anything from that e-commerce brand, right? And not just that, the commitment it has to its customer in terms of delivery, the service, the return policies, everything to do with the customer service intact is has made the brand what it is today. So, and I'm sure every entrepreneur's aspiration and a goal is to become a number one, it's in its own category, right? And to be the best. So I think to be that or to become that at some stage of their life, of their business life, is to pay attention to the promise and to keep, bridge that gap between the promise and the delivery. So I think these are the three very very crucial points that I want, I feel each one of us as entrepreneurs needs to understand.
Thanks, Madhulika, for sharing those guiding principles. So, now how about sharing some hacks also for our listeners?
Right. Tripti, there are lots of hacks that way, but I'll try to cover up a few in this episode today. To start with, I think entrepreneurs and business owners from MSME particularly should focus on retargeting approach on digital. Retargeting is one area. So while if you look at social media advertising or marketing or digital advertising marketing, there are enough, it's been beautifully integrated from the back end where there are clear audience targeting available, clear segment wise targeting, interest wise targeting available. But I think one area which a lot of people miss out on is retargeting. So what retargeting actually means is that the people who have visited your digital assets like your website, let's say people have visited your website 3 4 times in a month, or 3 4 once or twice in a week, they are the ones who have experienced your brand in some form or the other. They've read about your brands, they've read about your various categories existing that you've displayed on your website. To reach out to those customers with the help of communication and messaging can go a long way in helping you convert the business, correct? So I think retargeting as an option is one area which every business should now start focusing more on. In fact, even social media of late has started this retargeting option. And what it means is that the people who saw your ad earlier and indulge with your ad in some form or the other, let's say, you are an e-commerce brand, right? And you have created an ad on Instagram with a shop now action, call to action, as they say. uh, People did click on it, but they somewhere left the journey. They couldn't, they didn't convert the they didn't reach out to the final stage of the purchase, but they somewhere browsed you, but they left the journey from there. I think it's important for them to show the ad again to that same consumer, because it has a better resonance, it has a better connect, because the person has seen you in some form or the other. And that's where the retargeting option is very very crucial. I think it should be a part of every digital marketer's agenda and every entrepreneur's agenda, when you're servicing or trying to reach out to your brand. And I'm sure every MSME company has a website, has a digital presence, which is a must in today's time. You need to have your web address. So if you are creating a website, make sure that the pixels are integrated for the retargeting option, which I'm sure the technical team that you operate would easily be aware of. Yeah, so that's one. The second part is paying a lot of attention to the customer reviews. and showing it off on the social media platforms, right? So we've spoken at length on the relevance of customer feedback and customer reviews. And as we are living in a very expressive community world where people are sharing content, people are sharing both good and bad sentiments that they carry about a brand. When they feel very happy, they share. When they feel extremely frustrated, they share. So I think if we are living in such a shareable community, we have to make sure that if there are good reviews about your brand, your business, you've got to show it off in the social world. So talk about it. This is what our customers feel about it. So customer testimonials, especially showing it off on the digital platform, can again be very, very helpful. And I think it's very important to make the right use of it. And lastly, using call to action approach. So we spoke about content marketing, and I think it's great to have a compelling content, compelling messaging for your ads or for your social media post, etc. But if you're not coupling it up with a call to action approach, right? Where can a person reach you? Where can a person buy you? Where can a person call you? Where can a person visit you? So if that call to action is clearly laid in your communication, that will help you in better and a much faster conversion, right? So call now or a book now, as they say. If you're a hotel, if you're a restaurant, if a small any service chain or whatever that you would belong to, right? So book now comes handy. uh, Visit our website is again very important call to action, because your ideal goal is to make as many people visit your website from a particular platform. So if your visitors are visiting a social media platform, that community ideally should be reaching out to your website, because it's like you're exposing yourself to the digital community virtually, right? So and that's extremely important. And asking for feedback, I think this is again a lot of good, like companies who grow do it very well, is asking for feedback, help, which also helps in improving yourself in the long term, because people do give you feedback about where you went right, where you didn't go right, and what are the ways you can actually improve. It's a sort of an research about yourself, in a way that you're trying to ask your consumers, where can we help you better, where can we serve you better. So I think these are some of the hacks to start with that I wanted to share with all the listeners.
Thanks a lot, Madhulika, for sharing so enriching guidance and overlaying the marketing process for the main business and busting some of the myths, and also giving us a thought for blending traditional and new age marketing.
Thank you so much, Tripti, for having me over.
Through this episode, I hope you would have got some answers to your queries and guidance for way forward. Do share your learnings from the episode, your feedbacks and suggestions. If you are an entrepreneur and have questions from experts or any particular topic or profile of expert you want to hear, or if you are an industry expert with MSME as a target audience, do reach out to us. Our link is given in the description. And at last, please do subscribe for MSME Talk podcast, and don't forget to share the podcast link with your friends, family and network. Take care. Goodbye. Happy to share MSME Talk podcast enters peak ranking chart of 10th country in the Apple Podcast country level entrepreneurship category. If you are an expert or provide product or services to small businesses, MSMEs and startups, reach out to us to discuss showcase opportunity in MSME Talk. Contact details given in description.